This episode was brought to you by our sponsor, Bedina's eShop. Warning, listening to this ad may cause sudden cravings and spontaneous happiness. Because at Bedina's eShop, we bake sweetbreads so good they've been known to stop arguments, fix bad days, and make your dog think you're the favorite again. From our famous mini loaves to cookies and dog treats, everything's homemade in Amarillo with real ingredients and a whole lot of Mimi magic. Need a treat for yourself? A peace offering? A bribe for your kids? We don't judge. We just bake. Order at bedinaseshop.com, follow us on Facebook, or catch us at the Golden Spread Farmers Market in Amarillo during operation hours. That's Bedina's eShop, BADINASESHOP.com. Bedina's eShop, baking happiness and occasionally preventing meltdowns. Welcome to Noetic Resonance. This space is a living record of awakening and reflections on healing, truth, and remembrance. What I share here is based on personal experience and exploration. It is not medical, legal, or professional advice. Take what resonates and leave what doesn't. The following episode includes discussions about trauma, abuse, depression, and other sensitive experiences, including suicide. These are shared to bring awareness, healing, and understanding, but may be triggering for some. Please honor your well-being, and if at any time you feel overwhelmed, pause, take a breath, and return when you are ready, or skip if needed. Also, there is curse words. It's just part of who I am. Today I'll be introducing myself and share part of my journey that led me down this path. Have you ever felt like the world you live in isn't your home? Have you ever felt like you don't belong? Have you ever seen or heard or felt things that when you share them with others, they look at you confused or like you've lost your mind? Know that you're not crazy. Despite what the general public is willing to accept, there are things of this realm not all can see with the plain eye. If this were false, why are there special cameras that can capture things we cannot see with the plain eye? The color spectrum is vast, and we can only see a fraction of it. Not because we don't have the capacity. In some ways, yes, but because the way we've been conditioned to think and go about our lives. There's been a stigmatism attached to the quote, woo-woo, or whatever terminology is used in your culture. You are not alone, and today I invite you to hear my truth about my journey. One that I myself am still on and have felt compelled to share publicly. I know I may be judged, and I'm at peace with that. It truly doesn't bother me at all to live my truth and follow my intuition, and to also be genuine to myself. It's the happiest I've ever been. It's not selfish to live this way. Self-care is not taught to us like it should be. People-pleasing is rampantly taught, and we pay the ultimate price for it in our mental health and in our physical health. It teaches us to ignore our intuition, that gut feeling inside that guides us. Our gifts become suppressed. Every hug a parent forces a child to give to an adult that wants one further suppresses it and takes away our body autonomy. Most don't even question why the child doesn't want to give it. They just order the child to obey, to not be, quote, defiant. This is part of the conditioning I speak of, the culture of sit down, shut up, don't ask questions, and do what you're told. If you don't, you receive many negative labels and potential learning opportunities are shut down. This is proven time and time again in experiments where everyone but one person is in the know and does or says one thing, and the individual that doesn't know follows. We are scared to be judged or speak out due to that conditioning. For example, in one experiment, a piece of paper with a shape on it was passed around, and everyone looked at it and said it was a different shape than it was. The person who didn't know had a confused look, but went along with the wrong answer. We can all see how dangerous that can become if we all do that. Back to my story, though. When I was a kid, I was raised to be one of those people pleasers. I had that toxic guilt and tried my best to make sure that my parents were proud. I struggled with it, though, as I asked a lot of questions. And one of the most common answers I got was because I said so. Not only was this extremely frustrating, this also took away the lessons that could have been learned. This will stop many from continuing to ask. I am one determined individual, though, and I still ask to this day about everything. I call myself a forever learner because I believe there's always more potential for growth in every way. There's been many times in my life that I almost died. I don't know if it had anything to do with it or not, but it could. I've almost died at least 7 times. Every time I think about it, I remember another one, it seems. When I was in school, I was in the Gifted and Talented program, also known as GATE. That's a rabbit hole for another day, though. I always saw people when I was little that others couldn't see. Occasionally, a sibling could see them too, though. There was also visions of the future in my dreams. We went out to eat at Golden Corral once, and it was snowing really bad out. In the parking lot, I told my father not to leave a certain way, or we would get stuck. I told him I saw it in my dream. Of course, he didn't listen, and we got stuck because we went the way that I said we shouldn't go. This isn't a tale they told me and I remembered. I've always remembered that day and situations that were similar to that. Another gift I have is knowing when a person is not going to be with us in this realm much longer. I've never told anyone out of malice. Obviously, not everybody liked that, but for those who appreciated it, they made sure to spend some good quality time with the person. I don't even know exactly how much time one has left, but so far the longest has been about 6 weeks. Shortest was not more than 24 hours. Some in my family have learned that, unfortunately, I know what I know. It's not everyone. It just seems to be certain people. In the end, it's not something I can fully explain or understand myself. It's just part of me. Part that, if I had grown up in a different culture than in the Bible Belt of America, could have been understood in ways like I do now at a younger age. As a child, we attended many of the Christian, non-denominational, and some Pentecostal churches. We went to see the Power Team in the 90s at different churches. We also went to many productions of Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flames. Man, if you've seen them, you know. I absolutely had religious trauma that gave me nightmares into adulthood. My father was, and still is to this day, a belligerent alcoholic. I've gone no contact with him since 2022. I tried everything to keep a relationship with him, but I had to say no more for the sake of my mental health and the protection of my children. He is forgiven, but that doesn't mean I have to let go of my boundaries. This year, I gave him the opportunity to be back in my life. I wrote him a letter and said we could rebuild things through letters if he was willing to respect my boundaries. I haven't heard back, though, and that's okay. I still have my peace. I will not allow myself to be abused in any way ever again. When I was 16, I was sexually abused by a family member that married my first cousin. He was in his late 20s, definitely old enough to know better, and she was too. Old enough to know that she shouldn't have asked me not to tell anyone ever as well. I waited too many years to file with the police because few who knew, including myself, blamed me. It's okay though. Karma is real. They divorced later, and now she's happily remarried, and I am happy for them. This just added to the physical and mental abuse trauma that I had as a child. As a young adult, I was raped by 2 different men at different times. I do not see myself as a victim, though. I see myself as an alchemist who transformed my words into wisdom, pain to power. I'm a reclaimer who reclaimed my voice, body, power, and soul after it was taken, silenced, and fractured. I've become an ember bearer that carries what I've been through, not to be consumed by it, but to kindle compassion, truth, and share wisdom with others. I am living proof that fire can illuminate as much as it can destroy. As a child, we were navigating near destitution. My father had friends with rent houses, and he had skills of a paint contractor. So we lived in houses, and he and Mom remodeled them for rent sometimes. I didn't know till I was an adult that food pantries weren't something that everybody went to. Just like the physical abuse, I thought every kid was disciplined how we were. It wasn't until 5th grade that I started to figure out that wasn't the truth with discipline. My father had been up drinking all night, and as we got ready for school, he was abusing my mother. I had had enough. As he was calling her every name in the book in the kitchen as she was trying to make breakfast, I yelled, "Shut up!" Oh boy. He beat me all over the kitchen and living room, literally throwing me around while hitting me. I went to school as always. The counselor came and pulled me into the hallway, asking me if I was okay. Immediately, I was confused and said, "Yes?" like it was a question. She proceeded to tell me that my brother had told her what happened that morning. I said yes again, that I was okay. The abuse had become so normalized. I was truly confused at the time about why she was there. We did all get in trouble some more at home because they had called to talk to my parents. Part of the reasons for so many churches was my dad would do something at church while drunk, and my mom would be too mortified to return. He also squandered our money and gave my mom meager amounts to feed and clothe us 5 kids. I'm so grateful for the food pantries and places like Goodwill. It wasn't until I started working at 14 that I was able to buy brand new. Don't get me wrong. I would get new here and there for my birthday or for Christmas, but I usually got hand-me-downs from my older sisters and such. My oldest sister loved to write with pen on her clothes. So that was fun because I didn't know about the hairspray trick at that time. I graduated at 16 and left home for college. I returned to my hometown in less than a year due to the sexual abuse I mentioned earlier. And by 18, I had my first child. I was with that guy for almost 7 years and had 2 total children with him. My parents never educated me about drugs because we were pretty sheltered. All of my middle school and first year of high school, I was homeschooled. She used switched-on schoolhouse. If you know, you know. So it took me years to figure out that man enjoyed meth. When I figured it out, though, I left. After that, I met the father of my youngest child. Turned out, he also liked meth and was abusive in every way possible. I left before our child was even 1 year old. I didn't have anywhere to go, and thankfully my oldest sister, who had been through this herself, told me about the domestic violence shelter in Amarillo, Texas. This enabled me to leave him. I'm absolutely grateful to this day for that organization. I took full advantage of all the services they offered and have helped countless others over the years from living through all these experiences. Also, before I left her dad, I was so majorly depressed from the abuse that I attempted suicide. I wouldn't change what has happened to me for the world. I wouldn't be me and have the knowledge I do now to understand and help others who go through what I have. That being said, if you're in one of those situations and need help, there are resources on my website that will help navigate these situations. Or feel free to message me on one of my socials. I will try my best to help if you don't find what you need on the website. I do not offer legal or medical advice, though. The website is noeticresonance.org. 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 After leaving the shelter, I met a man online and was with him about 3 years. He was good to me. During that time, my health declined greatly and I had many surgeries. At one point, I had to be life-flighted and almost intubated. I couldn't move from the neck down for about 10 days. I thought I was going to die. I had gone unconscious on the way to the hospital, so I'm sure everyone else thought I would die as well. In the end, we ended up parting ways and agreeing that our goals didn't align. There were some others in between there, and time I focused on myself, but in October of 2013, I met my husband. This was when my healing journey began. He's always been a safe space and extremely understanding. He grew up in a healthy home and had no idea what he was truly in for. The poor thing. My kids also had trauma from their fathers, and we all needed healing. He's been an amazing dad, though. Little did we know, together we would go through many hardships. This included the death of my grandfather, who was like my father, the death of my father-in-law, the suicide of my sister, and all of that right before COVID. During COVID, we went through hardships with suicidal thoughts from myself and one of my kids, and a few suicide attempts from another one of my children. After years of unpacking the trauma in the counselor's office, I'm no longer triggered like I used to be. EMDR, also known as eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and inner child healing were some of the most helpful tools in my healing journey. Along with that, learning healthy boundaries and healthy communication. Oh, and I can't forget, I did learn them red flags, how to spot them and say, I ain't doing that. When you grow up in a toxic environment, you have to reprogram your brain and thinking patterns. It is hard and a lot of work. Let me tell you though, it's so damn worth it. The peace is absolutely indescribable. Again, I wouldn't change it for the world. Nowadays, I'm into a pretty holistic lifestyle, and most would probably call me a conspiracy theorist and even possibly a hippie. That's okay though. I prefer truth seeker and teller. My gnosis tells me when it's right. Some call it intuition. There are many words for it. They all describe the same thing though, the inner knowing. Once you start listening, it becomes easier to hear and to follow. I started this year being more present and paying attention to my surroundings, as well as my gnosis. As I've said, I've always questioned everything, and as I started to pay attention, I noticed peculiar things about every town I've been in. Many historical buildings, including universities, churches, and government buildings, have things on them that are really odd, considering we are supposedly a nation built on Christian beliefs and values. This is where my rabbit holes really began. I noticed here in Pampa downtown there's a building with a woman on the front that looks like a Roman or Greek goddess. She stands on a sphere with an exposed breast holding a torch and a caduceus. There's what appears to be wheat in the lower corners of the plaque. Into the rabbit hole I went. Who is this woman? When I did a Google image search, I found that same image is on many buildings across America. Some with the wheat and some without. All made by different people and through a span of years in the early 1900s. The woman is called the Spirit of Progress. She will be posted on my website for anybody who wants to see. She will be right next to the description of episode 1. Funnily enough, she looks just like Demeter, originally known as Demeter. Da or de meaning earth, Gaia, and mater meaning mother, earth mother. Other names she's been known throughout time by have been Potnia in the Mycenaean linear B tablets from Greek writings, with variation of that such as Cytopotnia and Hippopotnia. Now, forgive me if I pronounce anything badly. I am human and also make mistakes. She was also known as Anisiodora in pre-Olympian times and carries the same names for energy currents as Pandora before her myth was rewritten. A few more are Thesmophoros, Chitonia, Mother of Grain, and others. These names change depending on which power function or quality people are discussing. She predates Zeus by thousands of years in the archaeological record. All that to say, it's pretty interesting she's not just on that particular building, but her image and sculptures are on the previously mentioned buildings such as churches, government buildings, and universities. Why wasn't it considered heretical to put her on these buildings? Better yet, with an overwhelming Christian population at the time, how was it not considered idolatrous? In towns like here, where there are some extremist Christians, why are there these figures? Still to this day, even where people throw fits about, quote, evil or satanic things or places being built, has no one said anything. No one's questioning it. She's not the only one on these buildings either. There are many of these gods and goddesses on the buildings. Beyond that, I began to wonder why some of these buildings that look much older than they've been claimed to be have what seem to be cornerstones that are altered, removed, or replaced. Coat of arms that are covered up and obscured, and this goes along with the other gods and goddesses that make no sense. I've always followed truth wherever it leads through extensive research, but Demeter, quietly carved and displayed into the facade of a forgotten old building, called me deeper. Her presence, like a key, unlocking my curiosity into the truth of hidden layers of history in plain sight. I started seeking to uncover the truths that his story has tried to bury. After all, his story is just a set of lies agreed upon by the people telling it. And that's why I call it his story, because it is his story. This is proven time and time again. It's known to be true. especially if you understand the board that meets to decide what history is taught to our children. Some of the things I'll be covering in my episodes will be infuriating to some. When the truth comes to light, sometimes it really isn't easy to hear. When truth challenges your ideas, especially those linked to your identity, it can be off-putting, and I understand that. Learning some of these things that I have learned, I also became angry and had to go through a process of understanding with my research that is hard to explain. I do hope to bring it full circle, though, to help others understand what happened, what's happening, and what will be one day. I don't claim to know everything, but my research has been extensive, and I see the world differently now. I hope you stay on this journey with me, and we learn and grow together. My next episode will be covering Gnosticism, which is spelled with a G, and the Apocrypha. These are Gnostic texts and the pseudepigrapha. If you've not ever heard of these things, you're in for a treat. Until next time, may your path be aligned, your gnosis be clear, and the veil be ever thin. Thanks for all your love and support. Much love and positive vibes.